Katt is a humorous man. He is indeed. I adore you, Katt. It is uncommon for a comedian to be recognized by just one word. I'm annoyed with Katt Williams because you constantly bringing up Hollywood. This is Hollywood. This, and this is the white man. When do you accept accountability for your deeds? The shot was yours. Do you know what the top position in Hollywood is for someone who has sold their soul? What? Is to pretend it never happened. They all do the same function. Nobody in Hollywood can recall ever seeing a sold-out Kevin Hart event in 15 years. At any comedy club, there is a wait for him to receive a standing ovation. When he arrived, he had already made his bargains. Damon Wayans and Kevin Hart just had an unusual incident. In interviews, these two consistently displayed love and respect for one another. However, it appears that Kevin feels a certain way about Damon's recent endorsement of Katt Williams. Why is that important now? If you recall, Katt has publicly referred to Kevin in the past as an industry plant, essentially stating that the studios developed and nurtured him rather than Kevin being a self-made comedian. According to others close to Kevin, he feels deceived by Damon's admiration of Katt. The problem is that Damon didn't make fun of Kevin explicitly. He just commended Katt. Fans are now stating that Katt's remarks about Kevin being a plant obviously touched a nerve because if not, Kevin would become upset every time a comic gave Katt a compliment. So let's dissect it. Does Damon concur with Katt that Kevin is a plant for the industry? And what was Kevin's exact reaction when Damon complimented Katt? What is a plant, in your opinion? It's possible that folks are unaware of these words' definitions. These folks aren't strong. Nothing that offers blessings for his people can be created by Satan. Okay, let's start with the most recent. In a video that has gone viral, Damon Wayans praises Katt Williams and expresses his admiration for her, saying that she is so genuine and has a distinct style in a field full of imitators. Katt is a humorous man. He is indeed. I adore you, Katt. It is uncommon for a comedian to be recognized by just one word. When you hear that, your first thought is, that's Katt Williams. Yes, dude. It seems as though he is unique. His perspective is simply different. If I am unable to come up with a joke, I refer to a brilliant comedian as a genius. That's a different perspective if I can hear your premise and not figure out your punchline. That is what I adore about comedians. Kevin Hart is not pleased with Damon's remarks, despite the fact that fans are praising this and saying it's wonderful to see one comic veteran giving credit to another. According to people close to Kevin, Damon's admiration for Katt is perceived by Kevin as a betrayal, because Katt had previously publicly insulted Kevin. Additionally, it seems that Kevin interprets Damon's shout-out as supporting someone who openly disparaged him. Fans are now criticizing Kevin, claiming that Katt's remarks against him in that Club Shay Shay interview from last year obviously bother him. Because if he wasn't, he wouldn't react so strongly to any affection shown to Katt by someone like Damon Wayans. Additionally, it appears to many viewers that Kevin is still uneasy about the previous remarks that he was a plant. And every time Katt receives favorable attention, he reacts because of that insecurity. You've undoubtedly heard Kevin boast that he puts in more effort than any other comedian in the game. My name is Kevin Hart, and I work hard. Even his bio, on X states. That's essentially how I feel. Everyone aspires to fame, but no one is willing to put in the effort. Here's the problem, though. Kevin frequently discusses his work ethic and grind, yet many have implied that hard effort isn't the only factor in his success. However, Katt Williams doesn't give up anything. He accused Kevin outright of being a plant for the industry. For comparison, Katt initially raised this issue in the early 2000s. Around that time, people began to notice a trend. Before black male artists could go to the next level of success, they seemed to need to do strange things like wear a dress as a sort of initiation. Dave Chappelle was very forthcoming about this, telling Oprah in 2006 that he had been asked to wear a dress for a Martin Lawrence film. Every time I see a black male in a movie wearing a dress at some point in his career, I'll be analyzing why all these brothers are wearing dresses. I experienced this. Martin and I are working on a film. Yes, the films are going well. Thus, I enter a trailer. There's a dress in this clip, so I think, dude, this must be the wrong one. Because Dave stated why he said no. That incident raised a lot of awareness about how the industry limits who gets to make it. However, the producers persisted in pressuring him, assuring him that all the greats had succeeded, taken part in a conversation. What? Don't you feel at ease with it? It's a funny part, I mean. Every great has done it. Everything is excellent, but it's a little hacky, isn't it? You're correct. Why don't we just refrain from doing it? Because I don't feel at ease in a dress. Come on, Dave, pay attention. We had everything set up. Every minute you waste costs this much money, and we're meant to photograph it. The pressure comes in, you know. Even stranger is the fact that they prepared a contingency plan in case they were unable to break him. And according to Dave, the whole dress issue is more about testing celebrities to see if they will follow directions and go to any lengths to succeed than it is about the dress itself. But I was firm as soon as it became evident. I don't have on a dress. I don't have the dress on. Okay, consider an alternative. 10 minutes later, Guy returns with the entire new scene. How on earth did you compose the scene that quickly? Later, when they questioned Kevin about Dave's assertion that black entertainers are pressured to wear gowns, he just dismissed it with a laugh, claiming that it had never occurred to him. He also made it plain that he wouldn't do anything that would damage his reputation, even though he didn't explicitly state that he would never don a dress for a role. I haven't had to put on a dress, I must say. You know, you really must have. You must set limits. You must have boundaries that you will not cross. However, fans went crazy and accused Kevin of selling out when he appeared in a dress in a spoof on Saturday Night Live less than a year later. Kevin wasn't exactly at the top tier prior to this sketch, but he wasn't exactly having trouble either. He wasn't making headlines or getting big blockbuster parts as of yet. And Katt Williams had a different perspective on this than those who believed it to be only a coincidence or another conspiracy theory. It's bigger than just Kevin, Katt stated in response to a question concerning the Kevin SNL dress incident. Kevin was only doing his part in a larger system. Because there is a long line of individuals wearing dresses before him, Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people would think of him wearing one. Additionally, we were thinking, oh, poor little Kevin Hart, because it was his turn next. As a result, Kevin's Hollywood star continued to rise following the dress issue. Meanwhile, the tabloids had a field day portraying Katt as a crazy junkie, and he continued to run afoul of the law. However, in 2018, Katt caused a commotion once more, indicating that Tiffany Haddish is just another industry plant and making fun of her this time. Tiffany only became well-known because she catered to the white audience, according to Katt, who also pointed out that there are far more gifted black female comedians who were never given the opportunity. And after they performed 7 gigs at a club for $2,500 a week, she passed 46 female black comedians that I personally know and put on tour who struggled to acquire a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. However, people like what they like because they like the real thing. Real love is what they adore, because then everyone is real. Don't trip then. No. Are they really that ghetto? That became marketable when? Get rid of it. She wants to sleep with a white man, which is why they like her. For this reason, she just said, I want to give it to Brad Pitt. But Kevin took offense at these remarks and responded to Katt on The Breakfast Club by saying, Katt's just a bitter he lost gigs because of his substance problems. Your constant pointing at Hollywood is what irritates me about Katt Williams. The white dude in Hollywood is doing this and this. At what point do you accept accountability for your actions? The studio stopped you because you became a risk to them. What made him dangerous? You were his choice. Kevin went on to say that, in contrast to himself, Katt never promoted other comedians using his position. Williams, Katt, have you ever elevated others beneath you using your position, Katt Williams? However, that is completely incorrect. Katt has a proven track record of standing by his peers. He simply doesn't boast about it all the time. Remember how last year, after Monique disclosed that she was blackballed in Hollywood, Katt asked her to open for him on his tour? Remember when singer-actress Melber said that Katt had to pay $75,000 to be featured on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? These are only a few instances, but Katt has a history of subtly supporting his colleagues. Katt retaliated on Instagram Live following Kevin's messy conversation about substance usage on The Breakfast Club, accusing him of lying. He made $85 million while he was away. I wasn't earning $85 million when I was over here, but everything is okay. I don't mind preserving my soul and earning $1 million a month. They will keep saying, maybe I am, since Richard Pryor was there to be both the king of Tom and a crackhead. Once more though, constant pointing at Hollywood is what irritates me about Katt Williams. The white dude in Hollywood is doing this and this. At what point do you accept accountability for your actions? The studio stopped you because you became a risk to them. What made him dangerous? You were his choice. Kevin went on to say that, in contrast to himself, Katt never promoted other comedians using his position. Williams, Katt. Have you ever elevated others beneath you using your position, Katt Williams? However, that is completely incorrect. Katt has a proven track record of standing by his peers. He simply doesn't boast about it all the time. Remember how last year, after Monique disclosed that she was blackballed in Hollywood, Katt asked her to open for him on his tour? Remember when singer-actress Melber said that Katt had to pay $75,000 to be featured on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? These are only a few instances, but Katt has a history of subtly supporting his colleagues. Katt retaliated on Instagram Live following Kevin's messy conversation about substance usage on The Breakfast Club, accusing him of lying. He made $85 million while he was away. I wasn't earning $85 million when I was over here. But everything is okay. I don't mind preserving my soul and earning $1 million a month. They will keep saying, maybe I am, since Richard Pryor was there to be both the king of Tom and a crackhead. Once more, though, I implore you to use whatever medication that will make you feel like Katt Williams tonight. However, in his now famous interview with Shannon Sharpe in January 2024, Katt again attacked Kevin. Katt went all out this time, saying that Kevin was the epitome of what an industry plant should be. Katt claims that after Kevin succeeded on the East Coast, he was given opportunities in Hollywood without having to establish himself there. Nobody in Hollywood can recall ever seeing a sold-out Kevin Hart event in 15 years. At any comedy club, there is a wait for him to receive a standing ovation. When he arrived, he had already made his bargains. Have we heard of a comedian who moved to Los Angeles and, within his first year there, starred in his own sitcom on network television and directed a film called Soul Plane? No, that is something we have never heard of before or since that individual. What is a plant, in your opinion? It's possible that folks are unaware of these words' definitions. His entire comic upbringing was on the East Coast, as he recently revealed in his documentary with Chris Rock. Indeed, it was. How, then, was he doing the same thing here in Los Angeles at the same time? It never happened. It never happened. And I don't want to come seem as a petty person for pointing out lies, but Jesse Slow will continue to tell lies until you say we don't believe you. The truth is that there is a club that controls the company, and you have to either join on their terms or you will never achieve that level of success, according to Katt. Call it the Illuminati or whatever, these folks aren't strong. Nothing that offers blessings for his people can be created by Satan. Acting as though it never happened is, in fact, the top job for someone who sold their soul in Hollywood. A cabal is involved. The organization is a collaboration. They don't rock with people they don't rock with, and they rock with people they rock with. Katt went on to say that he never accepted payment to keep silent about certain matters, which sets him apart from others like Kevin Hart. The only reason is that I haven't taken any shortcuts. I have not received funding. They pay you to keep your mouth shut about topics they don't want you to discuss. They themselves tell you that. Lastly, Katt said that throughout a 5-year period, he was plucked from several roles and given to Kevin simply because he requested that certain scenes, particularly those that were overtly gay, be removed. All of Kevin Hart's films were ones that had been sitting on my desk, and all I had to say was, "Can we take a little of this step and fetch it? And then I can do it." Since I'm not gay, it doesn't have to be explicitly homosexual, right? That's not necessary for it. To be humorous, is it? And then they're going to give it to this other guy and have him do it exactly as I said, acting like I'm a bad person because I continue to hold myself to my standards. After I say that and they say, "Oh yeah, no problem." However, Kevin never explicitly refuted Katt's accusations that he was an industry plant, although he did make some ambiguous jabs at Katt following that Club Shay Shay interview. Rather, he has largely avoided the topic or remained silent. However, Kevin is apparently feeling deceived and resentful of Damon Wayans for publicly supporting Katt. But wait, why does Kevin become so defensive if other comedians show respect? For Katt, if he wasn't disturbed by Katt's accusations? The depth to which those charges struck is evident. Kevin appears to be aware that the criticism is valid because he may occasionally criticize Katt without confronting her directly. He could lose everything he's worked so hard to build if he admits it. Therefore, While Kevin may boast about his work, it's obvious that there's a larger game going on when the real conversation begins. Furthermore, Katt Williams isn't hesitant to point it out. However, what are your thoughts on this? Is Kevin genuinely afraid to tell the truth? What are your thoughts about Damon giving Katt props? Leave a comment below with your opinions, and I'll see you in the next video.